Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are back with our second episode on FPL Pulse Talk. FPL is finally live, guys. And with this season, there are a lot of changes. I know the past week has been packed with a lot of changes that have been brought by FPL. I don't recall a season in last 8 years where there have been so many changes. Some are exciting, some a bit questionable, and a plenty to talk about. Whether you are a seasoned manager or a first-time player, it's time to dive into new what's changed and what it means for all of our teams and our season going forward. And I'm joined by my co-host, as usual, with three of my best friends, Aman, Suraj, and Umesh. How's it going, guys? How's been your week? And have you been catching up with the FPL?
It's
Oh,
been awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like it feels like sort of like some reforms in FPL all of a sudden out of nowhere, like and also much needed. Like it, gives a fresh breath of air to FPL. All of a sudden, there's a lot of excitement. We've barely been catching up with all those changes. Every day there's a new change coming in. 1 hour after the another, and it's been very interesting. So yeah, it's been a very interesting week FPL wise.
I already created thousands draft. Not fixed on any, to
typical,
be honest.
typical Suraj behavior. Umesh, you've been chilling. I saw your weekend picks, so I think you've had some good time off from FPL already and kicking in now.
Yeah, I mean, once the season starts, it's gonna be really busy. So I thought I'll take a short vacation. But yeah, like Suraj, I've also been creating my own drafts. So I think everybody's been doing that. So I think everybody's excited for the upcoming season. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so let's look into what has changed, guys, and like a quick recap for everyone who's joining us for the first time or who hasn't caught up on the changes that have been brought by FPL. So the few things, and I think these are much needed changes. Some are like debatable, and as we'll talk into this pod, we'll go through all of these. We have defensive contribution being introduced. This has been a lingering discussion across FPL community, like defensive picks and like especially like center backs and DMs are not quite like likable picks, and now they've kind of tried to make that particular change. So this is a one good change. They've simplified assists, so that is a really welcome change, and I think everyone in the community is liking that as well. They've doubled down on the chips. So this is something I am seeing as a fashion that seasoned managers are maybe debating whether it's good or not. Some are thinking that it will give an edge to casuals, but all in all, I think it's good for FPL engagement. That's what we want, like the game to grow. If the game grows, like community, our FPL community grows, our podcast will grow. So this is, I would still welcome this change, and I know like it gives casual a good chance. It retains player more and more throughout the end of the season as well. So this is one of the good change and takes away some of the boring aspect of the game. And then we have this AFCON transfers. It doesn't make sense to me right now, but I'll talk about like your views as well on this. And we do have position changes, which is a usual theme in FPL, barring what happened in the last season, and then based on that we decide. And I think Aman here is in the top 1% as expected, and all other three of us are lingering in the top 10 percentile. But yeah, looking to catch up. I think that's a good motivation for every season manager to be there and like have that particular thing tick mark. And I think that's going to be crucial for us as a quick target to achieve. What are your thought, boys?
So yeah, I think I mean with all the new changes in the upcoming season with the CBITs, and it's actually making center backs or defenders in general more lucrative now, and also with the assists, I think whatever frustrations we had with some of the assist rules, I think they've kind of like reformed them now, and I think the assist rules are a good addition to FPL overall. So yeah.
I
Yeah,
would just like
last
to chip in
season.
about the chips. It's an interesting one. Although it all of a sudden makes FPL very much planning heavy. As for me, I used to plan like almost 1 to 2 to 3, or even sometimes in some cases 5 game weeks ahead of my move of the week. now it will require even more meticulous planning, which is also very interesting and exciting at the same time. Also, it gives a chance for anyone to come back into the game anytime, by just using a chip, if they feel they've been lacking behind. Adds a lot of variance to the game, which makes it very interesting as well. So I'm quite liking that change.
Yeah, we'll deep dive into all of these things. And on the pointer that Vimash just texted me before this spot that there were 41 assists that would have been awarded had this rule
Yeah.
been earlier. So that's one likable change that I think we'll all like. And overall, in all, I think this season is going to be the first season when we'll have the highest FPL points because of these changes. More chips brings more high scoring game weeks. Assists is going to be awarded more, and I think there's certain bonus points changes as well that we are going to debate into. So I think with that, I think let's dive into, and I think we have some visuals for everyone, some talking pointers around the defensive contributions. Why don't you kick us off, Suraj?
So coming to CBIT and BS calculation, this basically tells you how they have recalculated the change that FPL has made this year. Uh, if you see, CBIT is basically few people read it as CBIT as well. And for defender, it's CBIT, and for uh, midfielder, CBIT plus recoveries will also be considered. It's we won't be talking about midfielder over here as of now, but we'll surely talk about defense. CBIT is classified as basically clearance, blocks, interception, and tackles. So these are basically the primary job of the center, the defense field that's over there. And as you can see over here, based on the change that FPL has brought in, there's an old points, new points, and the points change that you can see in the second last column over there. Talking uberly about what's happening over here, if you see, there are three teams which are interesting to look at. One is Everton, Nottingham, and Bournemouth. There's Fulham as well, but it's down at the bottom. So if you see, there are two defenders from each of this team, and both of them are mostly center defender, apart from one pick, which is Robinson. Now Robinson, who is a wing back, will go forward more, will have probability of scoring or assisting, majorly assisting from Robinson because he crosses a lot. And apart from, I think in this chart, if you see, the interesting pick would be second interesting pick would be Virgil, playing for a decent team, getting your clean sheets as well as your CBIT points that's over there. Uh,
Right.
Apart from this, do you think anything interesting to talk about on this?
Yeah, yeah, I like how you called Liverpool a decent team. So that was good. I like your humility, but yeah, I mean, I think you covered the standout defenders in this particular visual. I think Anthony Robinson, he had the highest number of crosses in the last season, so I think he's one of the top picks here because you can see in terms of recalculated CBIT points, he's there in the top 10, 15 odd, right? And even Virgil van Dijk, I mean, Anthony Robinson is a wing back, but Virgil van Dijk, he's a central defender, but he gets like good 4 or 5 odd goals in the entire season. So he has both attacking returns, and now with this CBIT and bonus point system recalculations in the new CBIT and BPS changes in the new FPL season, I think Virgil will be a good pick too. Uh, yeah, I mean, nothing else stands out apart from the things we already knew. Murillo and Milenkovic. I mean, they had a sensational combo in the last season. So yeah, I think everything else.
Yeah, to me, Milenkovic was the standout in terms of the value per points per million. If you see, like he is giving the best value for the money. He's an amazing header of the ball from set pieces, so he has a great goal threat as well. And he's a center back, so he's always very high on clearances and interceptions and tackles. So if you see, like he's actually he's had one of the highest point changes, 33 extra points he would have gotten if this change was there in if this rule was there in the last season. So to me, basically Milenkovic and Nottingham Forest centre backs are standout. Also, interesting pattern is the teams which are the players or which are standing out are from teams who generally play through a low block. You know, you have your Bournemouth, you have your Everton, you have your Nottingham Forest. All these teams have the whole season they've basically defended low and then scored on counter attacks or depended on counter attacks for their goals. So it's a very key feature. So you know, maybe this season something changes with those, or maybe not. So it would be an interesting thing to keep track of which team is, you know, keeping a low block formation against most of the teams, and they would consequentially gather the most amount of defensive contribution points as well. So that's one key takeaway for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there has to be a case presented for one of these defenders like Tarkowski, I have never picked him. But let's say if I don't go with Pickford now, he becomes a clear pick because he's giving me 151 points in the season, which is good for a defender. And the one thing tricky with these defensive contribution is either they will be like need to plan it a window where you can say that you can maximize these, because hitting all these defensive points like how we plan for clean sheet is very difficult in that manner. And I think again the teams that will emerge who are currently not on this list is the promoted sides, and we might see a pick coming from those ones where in like the initial part of the season we see them performing well and they're contributing to these and they might have these defensive actions. So that is one thing. The other part that I had in mind, because we are considering CBIT as like we do have tackles in here. So the more a defender is in action, the more their chances are to get a yellow card as well. So we have a visual where we were looking at if let's say we are picking these defenders, do they also bring in a risk with like with them of getting a negative point, because net you're gaining 2 points, and let's say you're also getting benefited in the bonuses as well, like now the defender has more chance to be in the bonus as well. But if you are more of a tackler, then I think your value drops there, and that is I think we need to discuss. Suraj, if you could bring up that view where we're talking about the yellow card as well. So this is from the list, and I had not looked at the previous view that you guys had brought in. That's interesting because that gives us a reflection of new points. I had just seen a high level view of like Tarkowski getting 44 points, and also when I was looking at Tarkowski, like he's been awarded CB 22 times, so that's 2 points, which is making it 44, and these are all the CBITs awarded for them. And if you look at the yellow cards also, like 6 yellow cards and then the goal conceded twice. So this is like where all in the current FPL system they will be getting negative points. So if I just take these two things into consideration, I think my list even becomes smaller. So then the picks like Virgil is decent, and like a defender who's like less on yellow cards and they are also keeping clean sheet, or like maybe just conceding one goal, not two goals. That is where we can even further filter down which defender pool to pick in. And I think the reason why we are seeing Aaron Van Bissaka as a template pick right now, given his price point as well, if you see, although they have conceded twice 19 times, but his yellow card contribution has been, sorry, 15 times, but their yellow card has been just one and 9 CBIT. So that is an incremental there, and along with his attacking flavor, because the idea or like my still an inclination that I have right now is like I will still pick attacking defensive picks, but if they have this added on power or like area where they can give me these additional points, then I would be picking. But again, it's very tricky that you'll be able to figure out that window. And I think right now what I can view this is that like these will be one or two players which I'm like debating about at the last in my template, where I can keep this as a metric and to finalize that. So this is like my purview of like this entire change that has been. So I welcome this change, but I think the impact, because they have capped it at two, I don't think it is a very prolonged impact. I know at a cumulative level we are seeing points awarded in the range of 40 plus, but I don't see that fashion being replicated again. If it's like a very defensive season and attackers are not doing good, it's a case to be presented there. But the more and more goals are getting considered like scored year, we are seeing more goals scored each season. So it becomes less lucrative for me from that particular angle. Yeah.
Counterpoint is that even for a team who's conceding goals, if the player is consistently able to get you those kind of extra 2 points every game, and if that pick like Aaron Van Bissaka, he is also in the mix for those crosses, so there's a chance he gets assist, once every now and then. So that's add to that kind of a player's advantage. And as you were saying rightly, that we might end up having one such player. Overall, I feel we still pick defenders on their merit, in terms of the maximum point potential. This does not really change our thinking massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree too. I think in the end, most of us or most of the managers are going to opt for attacking defenders, like who can give returns. Somebody like Robinson, as compared to central defenders. And yeah, I mean, folks like Aaron Van Bissaka are interesting. He had the highest interceptions last season, and similarly, Robinson had the highest crosses last season. So they have all these toppers in different types of like all these traits that they have. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it's going to be since there's a cap on these returns. I think everybody is mostly going to still opt for attacking defenders.
We can look at the next slide.
So I was mentioning we need to even also look at the teams who can help us reward in terms of these defensive contribution. And when I'm talking about these, this I'm saying teams who have conceded the CBIT most or these defensive contribution most. So what we filtered out here is like the teams sorted by their CBIT conceded and the number of players CBIT have been awarded against these teams. So if I talk about Spurs, they considered defensive contribution 2,300 times, it's highest of from everyone last season, and also attributes to how they played as well. Like I think they created, but they did not convert, so it gave defenders an edge to play a pivotal role against Spurs there. 63 players were awarded. These are like repeated players as well, so they were awarded these defensive contribution. And if I to talk about in the purview of 38 game week season, so they're tending towards two. That means each game week you can expect at least one or two player to get this defensive contribution against them. We have Bournemouth again, also there, Liverpool, Brighton. So what this gives us an high level understanding the teams who are really attacking are giving these chances and who are creating a lot of chances but not end up converting them. So they could be like losing in the final third. Their volume of chances created might be high and also conversion, but some of the players in the final third might not be as good as the other two. So that is a theme that we are getting. And guys, you have any thoughts on these?
No, I mean, see, it's one thing. I feel it's difficult to plan as meticulously for these kind of windows and players. It's just that overall you have five defenders each week. Maybe this metrics becomes a consideration for selecting which defender you pick into your team for that particular week. It's just one added metric that we would constantly now be checking before finalizing a team for the week. But I'm not so sure how much we'll end up changing our players in the defense. Usually, I do not. I like to keep my defense, sorted. I don't like a lot of defensive changes. I want, like all the most of the managers, we tend to focus our transfers towards forwards and attackers. So for me, this is just one more consideration, but not so much to worry about.
Right.
Okay,
All right.
should we move
So
on to
all
next?
in all, I think what we can summarize with this is like I think we probably look at defenders more. We've looked into this from a midfielder standpoint also, but I think the attacking points that they offer will still outplay them us picking like the likes of Casidio, and also defenders will be a good watch. And I think center backs come in this discussion after this change. So all in all, a good and a welcome change, I think. And yeah. Okay, next we have the chips and the Windows strategy. So Aman, why don't you kick us off with what views you have on the chips that have doubled up this season.
Yeah, man, like that's very interesting. Like for somebody as nerdy as me and who likes to plan their FPL journey like 10 weeks ahead of time, I quite like this challenge. And it keeps you involved a lot more, keeps you interested in the game a lot more for somebody who's just started to play. There's a lot to play with for somebody who's just starting, right? And for all of us also, earlier we used to plan our chips very specific, and most of us, typically we would end up using our chips towards in the second half of the season when we would be very certain about a blank game week or a double game week, right? You'll try to maybe play your free hit in a blank game week and then use your bench boost for a double game week. You'll probably try to position your wild card around such a double game week as well. But now there's so much more to play with. Now you'll have to use those chips in the first half of the season, three of those, else they just go waste. You just used to have one wild card for earlier. Now you have a free hit and a bench boost as well, and it would be a first for a lot of managers like us who now be forced to look at specific game weeks within the first 19 game weeks to see which are those likely game weeks which can get you the best returns in terms of a free hit and a bench boost. We're not used to think like that about FPL, so that's very interesting aspect of this doubling of chips for me. Other than that, I think you have looked into the fixtures a lot better. You can tell me tell us all, what are the best windows to play this.
Yeah, before going into that, I mean, we'll look into the strategy, but I think overall, I like this particular change. I think the initial part of the season sometimes become boring, and as you mentioned, um, we tend to use these chips in double or blind game weeks. That aspect goes away. But the other thing is, I think in terms of like people saying casuals might like this or like variance might increase, but I think it helps serious manager plan in a much better way. Like if they want to have an edge, this is the best way they can have an edge even further than what they had earlier. Like if you want to create a good gap in the early half of the season, like this is your chance to as in maximize that if you are able to plan this well. Also as a manager, have a view of whether how we can play these chips. Have been talks about like bench boost one is already becoming popular, and I love to hear your thoughts as well.
So yeah, just to add on to the points that you've already said, I have slightly contradicting opinions about the new tips added. I'm not a huge fan of them. I think it kind of makes FPL a much more forgiving game now. It's absolutely. I mean, I understand the points about meticulous planning and stuff, but I think it kind of kills the thrill of the game also, because if you make a mistake, you have another chance, right? And it's just
Which is the
so.
thrill.
Yes, which is the thrill too, but the kind of thrill that we had just one triple captain, or let's say just one bench boost or something, and you could just play it once, and that was kind of the thrill of the game, right? Like you choose the game week, and then it's sort of a calculated guess and a gamble,
But
and
it made the game a lot more template-ish, no? Back then,
But
it
like
did.
that
everybody
was the
would be,
point.
you'd have
Yeah.
so many players playing the same chip in the same game week.
They will still be playing them in the same game weeks.
So
Yeah,
No,
I
they'll just
saw
be
it
there's a
playing it
lot
in a
more.
twice.
very I saw this in a very different way, that when let's say we had a very bad week and the next week we like want to make -8 and like completely knees up,
Right,
we have these
right.
chips at our
That's what I
disposal. I
said.
think
Yeah,
it
that's what I
can
said. It
like
gives you another chance.
satisfy your anger in terms of you're a bad game week. So this
Yeah,
is like in general, when like if you think about the manager who are not so serious and they might have are at a risk of churning out because of couple of bad weeks, these things can help them navigate that, because this is like they can play it in any random game. They might not care, but like free hit can be used in an advantage to gain back their position. So I think all in all, it's good. It makes
possibly.
life tough for us, but I think it's a good change.
Yeah, it adds a lot of chaos to the already
Yeah.
chaotic FPL game. But yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, if we talk
We still
about
have to
old
complete.
days in FPL, we talk about Vimersh.
Yeah.
Doesn't like change.
Yeah, I'm the disgruntled uncle.
Of
Anyway, Suraj,
FPL,
what are
yeah.
your thoughts?
My thinking, to be honest, is the whatever changes that FPL has made in this season is to increase the variance. At least at the end of the game, I won't feel bad that I lo lost the league by 2 points. That variance will increase, and that I think that is the whole point, to increase the enthusiasm as well as variance in this game. So I
I think.
support any chips. If you give thrice the number of chips that we already have, I'll take it.
Yeah. So if you see, all in all, it's like last season only. The number of game weeks, 8 game weeks is where we are going to use chips, or it could be wild card free or bench boost triple captain, which is similar to last season as well. This was the theme last season also, but although assistant manager was like 3 game weeks in a row, but there are some similarities and some trade-off that I will be discussing where how we plan wildcard usually also. So that's going to be there. Now, what I've done here is like from the fixture ticker standpoint is I've had one aggressive strategy and one strategy which I'm calling more info. Like when we have more info, deep down into the season a little bit, then we can like plan these chips better, maximize our points. We know which players to pick. Whereas initially playing it may or may not be paying off. But there are both the thoughts there. And how I've broken down these areas, like I marked where we are having international breaks in which weeks, and also club competitions, other cup competitions, which sometimes impact rotations and injuries as well. So just to keep this particular view in, whenever we are planning a strategy for a window of like say 4 or 5 game weeks, this is something we can always refer to. Now, to just give an understanding from like bench boost one, game week one is popular because yes, you'll have maximum time to plan and execute that game week, so it makes sense from that angle. But you may not know what are the minutes, like those players could be managed. I mean, there were a lot of players we from last season, pre-season, we were thinking that they will be nailed in the team with the likes of Nkuku and in other teams as well, but they did not feature that much. So these that could happen again. I mean, current templates is featuring words everywhere. I'm not sure whether he starts right away. There are Frimpong, there is Korkes, Robertson is doing well in the friendlies, even Bradley is doing well. So it's not sure like if your key team is Liverpool, given the fixture and they have what could be their plan. So it's very tricky how you plan your bench boost, and it gives you like an edge of 20-25 points. So, but given that, I think the only pro here is the maximum time to plan and execute this particular part. Now, for free hit, I have like for the initial aggressive move, I have like 3 game weeks. And to just bring you your focus is like because if even if we are going with like double Liverpool, which is I'm seeing this as a theme currently, we will be seeing like Liverpool are playing Arsenal, so that is one fixture you might not like playing these two players. So this is where I mean you might have to change your template a little bit, and there are other teams also that where we have to slightly change. I mean, teams going with Bowen, they might have to change because it's Nottingham away fixture. So this is where one window just before the IB you can plan, and you are seeing an increase of some players that are driving, and you can like just get onto that boat and like maximize your points. Basically the players who have emerged in first 2 game weeks and you think they can like just target the good fixtures for this particular week. And then the other free hit opportunity is directly in this game week 4. Now, this is why I'm saying is when you have an international break, we might be seeing injuries, we might be seeing some change. So this is obviously becomes one window. I've also thought of triple captain in this particular game week and along with game week 6 because my like if I have to pick triple captains right now, my 3 picks are Haaland, Salah, and Palmer. So if I'm thinking about these 3 players, I feel the fixture that these teams offer in these first 7 game weeks are in this particular game week, like this window of game week 4, where Liverpool is playing Burnley. And if we have to, let's say, talk about game week 6, where I'm playing triple captain, is because of Man City playing Burnley. So these are like fixture that you can target. These are promoted sides, so this is where you can plan. Game week 5, I've sort of a wildcard window, because if you see from game week 7 onwards, like this is a window where you will like to start ramping up Arsenal players, and you'll have a clear view of some of the teams which are doing really well. It could be the teams that we might not have thought initially, which always is a theme that we always feel that there will be some teams that won't do well, but they turn out to be really good. We never thought Nottingham Forest will stand out so good. We never thought Newcastle will hit the ground running right away. So there are some mid-table teams that we feel could be like would give us good picks. And I think game week 5, 6 has been even a traditional previous window of playing the first World Cup. So I've gone with that theme of like look at the first 4 game weeks, what I've gone about, and like this game week 5 and play your wild card straight away. So this is like one window that I'm like looking at, and this will be like maximizing till the first 7 game weeks and like exhaust your chips, so you have a edge start if you are able to execute. So and you can then play calmly, play by meticulously planning till the end of game week 19, and then that's again restart. But you can be in a good rank and then kept on solidifying. But if there can be another way of planning it also, but happy to hear your thoughts from this particular strategy. Anything that's standing out for you guys?
So when it comes to bench boost chip, two periods truly stand out for maximizing points from your bench. My first and preferred strategy is during AFCON. You will likely be selling big players like Salah, freeing up funds and transfers. This naturally leads you to bring in value enablers who are suddenly getting consistent starts are in form. The second approach is to play it before AFCON, but this requires a lot of stars to align. You would be targeting cheap bench players, likely from newly promoted teams with good fixtures. Think a defender from Burnley, attacker from Leeds, or even players from Brighton, Wolves, or Brentford, where a cheaper option might have stepped up due to transfer or injuries. Honestly, this second option is much harder to scout and relies more on unknowns, since the goal is always to maximize points from your bench. I would rather take a chance on those more reliable value enablers during AFCON than on uncertain cheap bench player, to be honest.
So moving to the other strategy that we have is where I think we all love planning, and that will again come in handy when we are looking for more information and trying to maximize the grain. And I am currently inclined towards this particular strategy, just looking at a high level view right now. Maybe it's subject to change when we go into the season and how teams are panning out. But again, one thing common with the first strategy is like free hit window again says same for me. Again, like if like post IB, we might see injuries. That is when where we can plan. And game week 6 is, I think, somewhere again there are some fixtures which you want to target, and like teams like Man City has Burnley, Leeds are playing Bournemouth, and Aston playing Fulham. So there are a lot of home fixtures for good teams that can truly maximize your potential. If I talk about Liverpool, they're just Crystal Palace away, but again, a really good fixture. So solid teams with good fixture. This is one window I think you might look at playing your free hit chip again, or even a triple captain. But if I talk about the optimal strategy that I'm thinking right now is like post the second IB, which when we go into the game week 12. Now, remember, we do have like a mini wild card in AFCON, which we'll just talk briefly about. None of us like that yet, but we'll just talk about what this will entail for all of us. Now, if you look at, let's say, after post IB, we can either play game week 12 wildcard or game week 13 wildcard. I'll just put in game week 13, but let's say we get some critical information in game week 12, and then we are able to plan wildcard in game week 13. Now, again, why this has been planned, if you look at the fixture of Liverpool, Man City, they turn from game week 13 onwards till 19. Now, there are certain players of these teams also, like Salah is obviously going to AFCON, and for City also Marmoush will be going. But if let's say they are in team, we can obviously plan them for our with our AFCON chips. But other than that, I think this is a really good window where we can plan our wild card and can ramp up with the teams who are starting with a good window. And just looking in the same line, if let's say United has picked up form, they also have a really decent run. Nottingham and Newcastle also have a very decent run. So these three, they are all attacking teams. I think with Cunha and Mbomo, and if the striker by a striker, they will also get solidified. So from an attacking lens again, the wild card in this particular window makes sense. We will have a lot of information post IB. We will have roughly 11 game weeks of data of how teams have panned out, how the season is shaping up, who is looking favorite. So a lot of information on our hand to like plan this in a very proper manner. And then let's say next game week, I'm saying triple captain because again Liverpool plays Sunderland, or if you have to play City, they play Fulham. So I think Salah's fixture is what we can target here. And then if we have to look at game week 15, this is where if you are planning a wild card in game week 13 and there is a fixture run of Liverpool and City starting, I think we'll have at least five players from these two teams. And imagine in game week 15, where they both are facing promoter side, Liverpool facing Leeds and Man City facing Sunderland. I think this is again a place where we can maximize these bench points. Because if you are playing your bench boost and you are able to play with the best teams that are there, I think that is a more good thing to do rather than trusting some mid-table sides where you might not be able, like even if you pick maximum player from those teams, they might not turn out to be that way. This is where you are minimizing the risk of the bench boost, given the information, given the teams that you have to play for. I mean, all the teams are good here. If you look at Newcastle, they're playing Burnley, again a promoted side. If let's say Isak stays there, it is a good pick. Nonetheless, Gordon and Murphy, like so, other player, their defensive option become good picks over there. So this is a good bench boost window. And even I think the one thing I'm saying why bench boost here, let's say even if you have to make couple of transfer to make optimal this, we can dead end our team here and to make it optimal for bench boost again, because you are anyway going to get a refill of five transfer, which either you can exhaust it and then in that particular game week or exhaust, or you can like play one chip at a time and carry forward that chip cushion throughout probably in the second half of the season as well. So that is like how I am thinking. But yeah, I just wanted to also mention about the AFCON window from game week 16 onwards. It doesn't make sense to me that these five chips are being awarded, but if something like this as a gift is awarded, I will take it. But I think this was not needed. If we are planning, if we are already loading up with double the chips, I don't think this was needed. But this is like high level what I'm thinking from a strategy, what we can think when we are moving into the season. Either an aggressive one, which can maximize our initial gain, or like we plan and then cover up later on, which that has more chances of upside because we've been playing that way. We are known to that way. What are your thoughts, guys?
Right. I think you covered all the points perfectly. Just adding some points to the AFCON chip that's there with the five transfers over there. With AFCON also, I think there's around 49 odd players that are going out to play for the cup. So it's going to affect all teams. I think only four teams don't have any African players. That's Arsenal, Newcastle, Leeds, and Aston Villa. So it'll be important with these transfers to probably pick players from these. You can obviously target Arsenal and Newcastle primarily, and I think some of the teams that are going to get most affected are Nottingham Forest is going to get affected. There are 6 or 7 African players there. City is going to get affected a bit. Liverpool's going to get massively affected because of Salah, and yeah, I mean there's a lot of players there, but it's important to keep this in mind when we go into the AFCON weeks. The teams that are not going to get affected by it may have a slightly upper hand for those couple of weeks when these matches happen. So yeah, Arsenal, Newcastle would be my go-to teams for that duration.
Yeah, interesting point. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we'll be covering this particular fixture ticker a lot more. I think we might see new windows popping out. Currently, this is a very high level understanding of a preseason look of the teams and what they're doing right now in the transfer business. Lot is happening. I don't know if Isak comes to Liverpool, so there are a lot of rumors around that move as well. But I think it'll be interesting to see what are the minutes of these players and who we pick at the end of the day. So a lot depends on that, and the strategy obviously come corresponding to that feature of your team structure only. So that's going to be key. But obviously, these are some hot windows that we've kind of filtered out for you guys.
Moving on to next, Vimarsh, do you want to take this up?
Yeah, I think this is the list of all those players whose positions have now been changed. So you can see what this visual basically does is it calculates their points now based on all the new additions that have happened in this version of FPL with the CBIT and BPS changes. So you can see these list of players. I think some of the players that stand out here would be Bowen and Cunha and even Matthias Nunes with all these numbers. But yeah, Bowen, the point changes. If you look at the point changes for Bowen, they've kind of reduced by 5. That's primarily because he's become a forward now from midfielder, and forwards get lesser points for like pools than midfielders. Um, Cunha has become a midfielder from a forward, so that's kind of good from a FPL perspective because he's a high return player, so he's gonna return more. And you can see that in the point change as well, based off of the new changes. If he had played the season like that, last season like that, he would have had 12 points more. Uh, I don't think anything else stands out that much. NDI was a penalty taker for Everton, so he's become a midfielder from a forward now. So that makes him a little bit more lucrative, or you can say a kind of a budget enabler as well. I think he's there in most of the drafts that everybody's creating right now. Although he's not as much of a budget player as we would expect. I think he's 6.5 million. And yeah, I mean, what about you guys? Do you think anything else that stands out or anything that's interesting?
One interesting, but it's a risky bit one. We need to see if Matthew Nunes plays at as a CDM over there. But if he does play, I think he's a decent enough pick. Not even just decent. He's a crazy pick, I would say. Moving from mid to defense, he gets a clean sheet as well as clean sheet points as well as the CBIT and the recovery points.
And the
I don't
assists
think
too.
he'll
Yeah,
get the
7.
recovery point because he has classified as defender over here. So CBIT points will still be under him. And the assist point, like
Yeah,
you said,
gives him
Vimash.
playing in a
Yeah.
defensive position and like getting sorry, in a midfield position and getting defensive points. So that's plus there. And I think he was among the assists as well last season. I think 7 assists is a good
Yeah, so
Could
benchmark
he's
of
he
his.
ending
And
could
I
up getting more bonus points also for
think
those returns.
Pep
could he be
tried him on the
Dallas?
right wing back. Pep tried him
Yeah,
as a right wing back. So if that is there, I think then he becomes a hot pick again. If I don't know who will be
but
featuring there, whether Cherky or
would you
Font.
go Nunes or would you go Ait Nouri? So
I won't go
it's a tough
anyone
call.
right now of City. Maybe Guardiola, but none of the other picks I'm sure about. Haaland plays, I know, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I can't predict City's team right now. I think there are a lot of changes going to happen. He's going to shuffle around a lot.
And things will get clear once preseason is completed. We will have more
But I think
information on who
Bowen
starts.
is less attractive to me now. His price
Yeah,
is
for
8, and
sure.
I think
Yep.
the team. I don't see they have like refueled their team with any good picks who can um, make Bowen better on anything. It's just Bowen doing all of the things. Marmoush becomes an interesting pick, but one thing is like in the Club World Cup, when he has featured, Haaland hasn't featured, and vice versa. So this is tricky where I think he will be managed a lot. Alvarez moved because he was not getting a minute. I think Marmoush is still fine with that. He might get unsettled later on, but interesting to see whether he makes a place for himself there or not. So City's lineup is kind of unpredictable right now. I think it's best caution to not go that route unless you're going with Haaland or Salah draft. But otherwise, I don't see anything. Lewis Kelly, I'm not sure whether he will be more of a feature. He was more of an injuries coming and then picked in the squad. So I think that's going to be a theme, and
also
Gakpo again will be managed.
Sessegneux's appeal goes down as well. Last season I had him and he was returning all those assists and goals and whatnot. Right now he's a mid, so It's a little bit of a decrease in his appeal, although he's still a great player.
I'm not sure if we
Okay.
have highlighted Cunha, but again, he's a great pick from forward to mid.
He becomes more
Yeah.
lucrative provided United start all guns blazing. So yeah, let's see.
I think
Yeah,
Bruno's
true. We
I
assist
will.
mean,
capability will help
he
help.
plays in
Yeah.
a better team, or rarely does he?
I won't comment.
$1 million question.
Let's move on to the next topic, please.
All right. So what we are seeing in terms of the key price changes, and thanks Suraj for zooming it for our viewers. So Eight Nuri obviously and Kerkez are two who are like the big defensive transfer within Premier League we have seen, and I think they will be in the team. Kerkez should be starting ahead of Robertson is what I'm getting from the preseason, and Eight Nuri also seems to be taking that left flank for City as well there, and Guardiola might move left CV. So that is one thing to take into consideration who becomes more attractive. But yeah, obviously these are the two players who've obviously moved to a good team and they're are more lucrative now. And Kukurea, I mean, Chelsea have one of the best run in the initial first half of the season, so he's also interesting. He has shown consistently that he delivers. I think it'll be good to see how Maresca uses him this season if he's allowed to go deep into the box or like make those runs or what style of play Chelsea plays. But I think in the World Cup as well, he's looked encouraging, and I think it's going to be a good partnership all in all, and could be a good pick again. And in terms of any defenders whose price been reduced and just becomes an option, I think if United is able to solidify their defense, I mean, look at Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw price, guys, and this
Just
becomes an interesting.
quick
Yeah.
fact on Kukurea. So last season, Chelsea was the second best team in terms of XGC, expected goals conceded, right after Arsenal, and Kukurea was the highest scoring defender in the second half of the season. So
Okay.
eyes on him.
Yeah, I
Is it
think
because
that
of clean
justifies
sheet
his
or
price of 6 million.
is it
It's
because of
because of both clean sheet and the
Yeah, he
goal
had some
scoring.
attacking
yeah, he has
returns in the
scored a
second half.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very much present in the
Penalty box.
B
Yeah.
penalty box.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I think one more thing that's going under the radar is Newcastle defenders. If you see some of them, Lewis Hall, Dan Burn, Botman, all have increased in price, even though by 500,000. But that's interesting to note that all of them are increasing in price. And I think Lewis Hall was a good pick for a good part of last season. I had him for a long time. He started the first few game weeks, and then he was like kind of dropped, and then he came back again and started giving returns. So he had good returns last season too. So Newcastle picks can be handy as well in the
How much
upcoming
is
seasons.
Livramento? Okay, he's 5 million now.
Yeah,
Livramento
yeah,
is also interesting to me. Like
yes.
he was very much the pick from Newcastle towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to mid.
Okay, so in terms of the midfielder price changes, we have like Morgan Rogers, our season hold for last season is now 7 million, guys. Salah has moved 2 points, 2 million to now 14.5, the most expensive pick this season, and I think he'll still feature in most of the teams. But all in all, if I have to talk about price reduction of players, I think Son and Foden have taken a hit of minus 1.5. These were the two key mention from an FPL standpoint. But other than that, if you have to just pick FPL players who've been picked some or the other window in the last season, I've just filtered out on those and their price changes. And if you see most of these, like they are less attractive now because of this price point. Even though they did not deliver on these numbers, I think there is the price point by FPL season. This season is so tricky that you even if you are trying to pick one of them, it will be very difficult to filter out who's going to edge there. I mean, Eze is 7.5, which makes sense given his last season. Sar makes sense. Dwight McNeil is a good pick. The other players, if you look at Rogers, I mean, we can still question whether we need to pick because he's 7 million and that place can be taken by some 6.5, 5.5 who can deliver similar value what he delivered last season as well. So that's interesting to see, and whether Aston is still the same attacking side that we saw last year. So that will be one interesting thing. Cunha is obviously we mentioned 6.5 to 8, but also position change to midfield. So these are some exciting defensive option. Brian Mbumo again 8 million. So we have some of the key players that we always have featured in our teams, and they are slightly expensive now. So planning them with Salah, Palmer, or like maybe Saka, it's going to be really tight from a budget standpoint, I feel.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, what
Mitoma is
from,
not.
guys, like what I'm noticing is they're probably gonna cut down on our defensive spends. That's what I'm able to understand. Like, you can't really get a lot of budget enablers into your team unless you're planning on sort of a 3-4-3 system maybe, and you can afford to keep a 4.5 kind of a mid in your team who just plays as a maybe a defensive midfielder, doesn't give much points but is there to cover up, give those 2 to 3 points if need be. Other than that, if you need like a proper attacking midfielder, at least from what we know, the pricing has, the FPL have ensured that it becomes difficult. They have increased. They've given us a lot of free transfers. They've given us a lot of chips, a lot to play with, a lot of extra points for everything. But yeah, the pricing is very tricky. It's very difficult to get, you know, a lot of these into your team together.
I think
So
that's where the balance is. You have tricky prices, but you still get chips. So that is, I think, the rationale behind balancing
yeah.
this
Yeah.
season. Yeah.
I think Mitoma remains the same, right? But I think that is one pick I
Yeah.
would like to
I think
keep close
he's
eyes
still
on.
same, and I think one thing interesting that's not there here as well is Madison price point. He's also dropped, so his season was on and off because of the injury last season. So he's also key pick, and I think a very good differential right now, which is getting overlooked. But we'll talk in our midfielders and attacker pods that we have in the upcoming weeks to discuss more about the players and who could be really exciting to watch.
Right. One quick stats on Madison. He has zero point 0.5 XGI, which is decent. Every 2 games, he'll give you one return at a price point of what, 7? It's good enough. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move to forward.
Yeah, so forwards, there has been a lot of changes, and I think some we obviously know because of their performance and the reduced minutes. So Nunes obviously reduced minutes, featured less, form dipped, and reflecting in the price. Haaland had an injury season. His form from one of the best season by an attacker in Premier League dipped, so 15 million to 14 million, but again one of the highest uh, price players in the league currently. Jackson has reduced and his minutes will be taken by Pedro now, which in turn has increased from 5.5 to 7.5. Isak increased from 8.5 to 10.5. Interesting to see whether he stays at Newcastle and like again becomes a pick or not, or whether if he comes to Liverpool, I do risk like he might not get like complete 90 or 80 minutes in the game because of Ekitike, Wirtz, and every uh, person we have in the squad right now. Chris Wood, one of the hot picks of last season, 6 million to 7.5 million. So these are some of the interesting changes. I think Strand Larson becomes a less attractive pick now because of Cunha not there, and like overall we won't trust Wolves in all in all. You'll have to see more of them to understand. Watkins price does not change, Mateta price does not change, and Solanke price does not change. So again with the fixture run, I think Watkins and Solanke are still considered a lot, and their price point is also fine given the value for money they give. So I feel the pricing for striker is also fair. Like I do not see any unfair price player from given their performance from the last season. If at all there are players like Richarlison, or like if Fulham does well, Muniz is more of a starter now, which was not the case last season. Then these players will become interesting. And Nketiah is in Palace, but he was not featured even after transfer. So these picks will be questioned. Havertz, I don't know. Again, if you look at Gyökeres signing, whether his role will be debatable. He plays in a different position. So it's all in all fair. Like what changes you are seeing from the price does translate to their attractiveness as well, and their attractiveness from the second half of last season as well. I mean, the picks that have increased were more of our in the template as well, and the tips that are not have decreased, or some we had some time considered and then we completely never brought them into a discussion because of their minutes being reduced and obviously the conversion rate as well. So I think it's fair. It will be tricky who we pick, but I think forward pool is kind of limited right now, and we will be always hovering around these players or one or two attackers that may come out from the promoted side or the teams that we are not looking at right now. So that's my thought right now on these changes.
Yeah, I think one thing one would expect here. I mean, everything else is perfectly fine, but one thing that pops out is Mateta's price not rising and Solanke's price not dipping. I think I would have kind of expected that, but yeah, I mean, it's still the same. I mean, it's kind of unfair on Mateta to be on the same price as Solanke, but yeah.
I mean, I would still rate them equal, but Solanke could like go all out this season, given with Thomas Frank and all. I don't know what they put, what all factors they put into consideration, but
Right.
just in general, if we have to like debate about the players and what price point we'll pick, I think we would have also given them a similar price point. I mean, for me, Visa is still slightly high. Like I would not call because how the Brentford team is right now, but makes him little less attractive in the movement going. But these are, I think, we'll keep on debating about these price points and when they start rising or dipping.
Yeah, I mean, see, last year's budget forward was 5.5 million. This time it's 6.5 basically.
Mhm.
I see a few very interesting picks when I'm considering for my draft. I see players like Danny Welbeck and Strand Larson who've actually, proven themselves in those teams. Strand Larson, I'd beg to differ. He is actually done better in Wolves when Cunha was out of the team. So
Mhm.
he last season he showed that he can take up that mantle and he can deliver on that as well. So for me, he's an interesting option. So is Danny Welbeck with Ferguson out of the picture, Pedro out of the picture. They only have Danny Welbeck in that team as a sole forward. Danny Welbeck scored some 10 goals, I think, last season, which is, no less actually. So it's an
And I
interesting
think
shout for me.
yesterday there was a rumor around Stan Larsen also coming to Newcastle if Isak has to depart, and then that will become like I think then he'll be one of
Well,
the
like a
top.
bigger rumor is about Visa. Like Newcastle has been behind Brentford to get Visa over
I
there,
think if these two
and
price point goes to Newcastle, then they become really, really exciting. And I think more exciting
yeah.
to me than Pedro right now, whom I'm currently having in my template.
Right, right.